you. I paid him $1,000 to say the handsome thing. Cool. Hi, everyone. Any Thrillist readers? Oh, God. Okay. This is a disaster already. Jack threads, buyers. Fuck yeah. Okay. So I usually have like the same spiel I do, like a quick Thrillist Jack thread story that is all about business that I like telling, but people don't love listening to. So I decided to mix it up a little, and I'm sort of going to tell the story of the business, but in the context of my experiences and how I've grown up with the company and the company has grown up with me. And Jeff's idea, so if it sucks, blame him. Okay, so the story begins many, many years ago. When I was a young, plump boy. That's not actually me, but I couldn't find a picture of me when I played tennis, and I liked his shirt. So I grew up in New York City, and I used to play a ton of tennis when I was a kid, and I was really good. I was like one of the the good players in the Northeast 12-year-old junior whatever thing, and I had a coach who coached a lot of the top kids in the East, and he would always tell me I could so great if I would really commit to it and if I would apply myself, and of course I wouldn't do that. And the reason was, when I would play a kid who was more talented than me, I would always give him hell. And I would be out there and I would kick his ass around the court, and I would sometimes win, and I loved it. But the problem was when I played someone who was worse than me, I would suck, and I would get super nervous, and I would basically be, I was obsessed with looking cool and looking like I wasn't trying, and as a result, I would get beaten, and that sucked. And so I didn't like tennis anymore, and I quit tennis, and I was a quitter. Can I have a sip of water? Hold on. I spilled a little. So that was me as a tennis player, a terrible underachiever. So then I left tennis, and I went to college. I went to school in Philadelphia at UPenn. Super competitive. Everyone was super smart. And when I got there, my parents said, "Listen, Benj, when you make sure that you don't get anything less than a B minus. Like you're in a good school. Go and have fun. You don't need to get A's and everything, but don't get less than a B minus." And so I got a B minus in every single class. Never, ever more than a B minus or less than a B minus. And so, again, I was a terrible underachiever, although I did make incredible fake IDs. Check that out. I actually looked like that, first of all, which is so upsetting, but quality work, quality product. So I finished school and had my nice B minus average and went and got a job for a guy named Andre Balazs. Beautiful, beautiful man. And Andre owned a bunch of boutique hotels. He owned the Standard and the Mercer and a bunch of stuff. And when I got there, I sort of walked in on day one out of the Ivy Leagues and thought I was hot shit and said, give me my monies. Like, where's the keys to all of the hotels that I am now running? And Andre, obviously thought I was very stupid and said, well, so you want to own hotels? And I said, yeah, of course. What am I doing here? And he said, well, there's a process to this. And so you want to be a good hotel owner, you got to be a good general manager. And you want to be a good GM, you got to be a good AGM. And you want to be a good AGM, you got to be a good F&B manager. And blah, 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 blah. And there's probably a bunch of other ones that I didn't remember the titles of the jobs. Delicious. So, I was there, and I was in this situation, and Andre said, listen, you really need to commit to this process. And so the first thing he did was he sort of kicked me out of the corporate office and sent me to one of the properties, to one of the hotels, to go and actually be a busboy and a bar back for the summer. And I was not super stoked about that, but it was an incredible experience. And I got out there, and sort of for the first time in my life, I was a part of a team, and I was working my butt off, and just being clever and being able to sort of optimize to a B minus, doesn't get the dishes off the table. I had to go and I had to work, and at the time I was really enjoying it, but I was still, I still thought that I should be on some management track, and pushed for it, and ultimately convinced Andre to sort of make that switch, and made me into an F&B manager before I was ready. And I immediately hated it. And I think at the time I thought I hated it because like I was working nights and weekends and I couldn't like hang out with my girlfriend or something. But in reality, I hated it because, and I sort of now understand this, I hated it because I was, again, sort of super insecure. I was working as the manager of this place, and I knew everybody who was under me, like the bar backs and the bartenders, all had more experience and were better qualified, and I didn't know how to run a bar, and I was super shitty at my job, and I felt that everyone knew I was super shitty at my job, and that wasn't a ton of fun. And I cannot believe that this is the quality of the work that my communications team does. And so I'm so upset. And so, so long story short, I ended up leaving the hotel, making that my third successful quitting over the course of 5 or 6 years. And I was a little lost, and I thought I might go to business school, and I was hanging out with a buddy who's right there. We were hanging out on a roof. I think that's why we did it this way. And we realized, we were talking about sort of what we did know about, because I was a shitty bar manager and I was sort of bad at all this other stuff. What was I good at? And it turned out that being an incredible underachiever for a long period of time actually had its benefits, because I spent a ton of time getting really good at eating a lot and drinking a lot and buying clothes and trying to hook up with girls and doing all this really not so important stuff, but stuff that we actually ended up turning into a business, and that business is Thrillist. And when we got started, we saw a pretty clear hole in the market. And so for us, it was really between national men's magazines and local city guides. So every national men's magazine loves Zac Efron. No, that's not what. We actually thought that the national men's magazines did a really good job speaking our language. We trusted the voice. But unfortunately, the content wasn't local, it wasn't timely, it wasn't actionable, it wasn't content that we needed to have. It was airplane reading, it was toilet reading. It was like, they hadn't really harnessed digital and the idea of a news cycle that needed to move in real time. And on the flip side, we looked at the local city guides, and everything we had grown up with was the same. My mother and I were supposed to read the same city guide, and while the content was local and timely and actionable, we didn't trust it. And we needed to find something better, and we needed to sort of fill this gap in the market, and that's where Thrillist came from. I'm going to put this on the floor. Sorry. So that was where we sort of came up with the idea, and one of the things that we did actually really early on when we were creating the brand was we would actually read like a review of a restaurant that 15 different city guides had written, and we would take the same review that they had all done, and we would write our version, and we'd put them on napkins, and we'd mix them all up on a table, and then we'd pick them up. And what we saw was that 14 out of the 15, you'd have no idea who wrote it. You're like, is this the Times? Is this the New York Mag? Like, I sort of don't know. And Thrillist always stood out, and that was our idea, was to create something that was completely differentiated from everything else in the market, and was a real quality product. And it worked. And so for us, quality was sort of measured in two different ways, two forms of validation specifically. One was, of course, organic user growth. And so, this shows 30,000 users in year one, which actually we thought was super big. We were very wrong. But what we saw was that people were sharing the content, people were forwarding the content, and we were growing organically. And so, this is sort of a longer term view, and my team forgot to put this year on it also, so I'm going to kill someone later. And the next kind of validation, which I actually think was more important, was that the local businesses that we covered felt the impact. So you write about the bar, people go. You write about the clothing store, people buy shit, et cetera, et cetera. And we knew that that meant trust. And ultimately, that trust gave us confidence. And really, for the first time in my life, I wasn't a B- student. We had an A product. We had something that was great, that we were really proud of, and that people actually liked. And, from there, oh my God. From there, we took that confidence and we went out and raised a little bit of money. And so we raised $250,000 from a group called the Pilot Group, which is Bob Pittman, who started MTV and now runs Clear Channel and a bunch of cool shit. And went to Bob and said, we have sort of like this early product and it's good, but we need help growing it and we don't know what the hell we're doing. And so we took a little bit of the cash, and the stipulation with the money was we couldn't spend any of it on marketing. We had to grow organically, and if it worked, amazing, and if it didn't, then we move under a bridge, and that was it. And so with so little money, we sort of had to do every job. And so again, I sort of think back to my early days with Andre, where I immediately wanted to get out of the bar and go and sort of manage. In this situation, we didn't have that opportunity, and I was, the first sales guy, the first marketing guy, trafficking the same ads that I sold, writing content, super shitty writer, like doing everything. And it was an awesome experience, and it really helped me to sort of solidify confidence in myself as a business person, and same for my business partner, and that's really where we sort of built the business from. And so, and confidence that we got from that led to a bunch of advertisers, and so, you saw in the last presentation, one of these slides, a lot of big brands came in, and over the course of 2 or 3 years, the business reached profitability. We got, $5 or $10 million of revenue. Things are cranking. We're feeling good. Everyone's happy. And there's a story one day where we're sitting in the office and we see something on CNN. They do an article about daily candy. And who knows daily candy? More people know Thrillist. We are better. Well, 5 years ago, everyone in here would have taken their shirts off and had a party when I said daily candy. They were sort of a business that we had always looked up to. They had actually raised money from our investors, and they sold a few years ago to Comcast and built this really great brand and this great business. And we'd always modeled ourselves after them and looked up to them. And so when this piece came out, it was this incredible moment where we said, we've done it. The goal is achieved. We wanted to be daily candy for dudes, and we did it. And we had a gigantic orgy. And after that, took a little bit of a step back, and we'd built some infrastructure. We had 30 or 40 people on the team, and I was no longer doing everything every day. And said, what do we want to do? What do we want to be when we grow up? We could have put lipstick on the pig, and we could have gone and tried to sell it and tricked some media company into buying it. And that would have been nice, maybe. Or we could have sort of figured out really what was next. And we were lucky because a whole new set of businesses emerged while we were building Thrillist. The daily deal sites, the flash sale businesses, all these guys started popping up. And what we saw was sort of in a world of supply and demand, they had the same demand that we had. A big group of people who trusted us, who did what we suggested. But we sat at the top of a purchasing funnel and created intent with our content and sold advertising around that. And these guys sat at the bottom of the funnel and made money off of the transaction. And we saw that they were making a lot more money than us, and we wanted more of that money. And so we got jealous and started looking for a way to get into that market. And in a really lucky turn of events, I was reading Thrillist one day, and I saw an advertisement for a company called Jack Threads that I'd never heard of before. And I clicked through, and I got to their website, and these guys were selling clothing from brands that we were only familiar with because we had read about them editorially on Thrillist. And it was this sort of head slapper moment, fuck, these dudes have built exactly what we should be doing. They have built the supply to the demand that we've created. We have to figure out how to get into this market. What do we do? And I got on a plane, and I went to Columbus, Ohio, where the business was founded. Met a guy named Jason Ross, who's now my business partner, and walked into his office and was horrified to find that it did not look like my office. There were kids climbing up and down shelves, packing boxes. This was one of their first employees. He's done very well. And there were people taking customer service phone calls, and it was crazy. It was a completely different universe. And I felt like I was back in the bar with Andre that first day, where suddenly I'm in charge, and I walk in, I'm like, fuck, I don't know how to run a bar. And I walked into this place, and I was like, fuck, I don't know how to run a commerce business. This is completely outside the realm of what we do. We sell advertising, and we create content. And fortunately, we had built up enough confidence in our business that instead of quitting again and running out the door and being like, commerce is scary and like, I want to go home. We got closer to Jason and ultimately ended up buying the company 2 years ago today. Cheer, cheer. Thanks. No, it's super exciting. So 2 years ago today, we did the deal, and it was an incredible experience for us. And immediately what we saw was that the Thrillist readers became Jack Threads buyers, and Jack Threads buyers became Thrillist readers at an even faster rate. And so we had always known that the Thrillist guys would transition over. The reason that Jason had been advertising with us is because he had data, he had sort of done the cohort analysis and seen that his most valuable buyers were the guys he had gotten from the Thrillist advertising, highest lifetime value guys. And so we sort of knew that would happen, but what we really didn't know was that the media business would also get driven by the commerce business. And so we had this virtuous cycle. Both businesses started growing faster. We got more and more confidence, and that led to the launch of our next product, this classy beauty, Thrillist Rewards. And Thrillist Rewards for us is a way to sort of take our consumers on the local level and activate them one step further than content. And so it really bridges that content commerce gap. And so, you know, when we got started, the best service journalism was a more curated city guide on the local level. But we saw with sort of the introduction of the Groupons and all these guys, there were people who were taking content and not just educating people, but also giving them an opportunity to purchase. And we thought that that was a huge value add. And so we launched Rewards in that vein. And we're great things like strip and a strip. No, but in all seriousness, it's been a really powerful way to get our guys offline and active in the market. And it's not $5 of shitty pizza for $10 or vice versa. It's, that would be a really, really terrible deal. It's better content that, it actually takes the content that we're creating and elevates it. And so what we have when you sort of put it all together is the LTV explodes. We have the Thrillist guy who suddenly isn't just a reader, but he's a buyer, both locally and nationally, and we're doing stuff online and offline in content and in commerce. And what we've seen is the business has completely changed. And so I guess it's been 2 years since the JT deal, and about 6 months ago, we sort of crystallized the idea that this was not Thrillist and Jack Threads and Thrillist Rewards, but this is a platform for reaching men. And so what we're finding is that the opportunities are bigger than we had originally anticipated. And so today we're over 200, we're 208 people as of last Friday, which was our 7-year anniversary. We'll be 207 after I get back to the office and deal with the person who made the deck. And we really think that this is what the future of a media company looks like. It's one where you don't have one kind of monetization. I mean, forever media companies, media companies talk about commerce, but they don't put their money where their mouth is. They go and do an affiliate deal with somebody or a partnership. They don't actually own the fulfillment, the customer service, the merchandising. They don't know how to hold inventory. That's completely scary to them. I don't blame them. It's scary to me too. On the flip side, commerce businesses talk about content, but at the end of the day, that content that they're creating is not a profit center. It'll make the commerce stickier, or it'll help with SEO or whatever, but they're not actually monetizing that through relationships with advertisers, and we are. And as it stands today, I think we're the only sort of guys in our space who are doing 8 figures of revenue on both the content and commerce side. And so, we've been able to take a total of $1.8 million in investment and grow it into the company that we have now. And so, so we're super proud, and we're at an inflection point again, because we need to figure out what's the future, what's the next step for us. And I think, at this inflection point, we're being really thoughtful about what we want to do and how we think about growth. And sort of in the context of that, I've thought a lot about my own sort of confidence and the confidence that Thrillist has given me as being the first thing that I haven't run away from like a scared, small, plump boy playing tennis. And sort of in the context of that, we think about what happens if this thing blows up. We've worked for so long building the business. We've done so much hard work. Like, what happens to me personally, not financially, but like mentally? Like, do I go into some weird hole and like have to like live under my parents' bed or something if this thing blows up at this point. And I've had a really interesting realization, and it's actually around sort of preparing for this presentation, which is, it's a little hokey, but it's the idea that the real thing that we've done, the real thing to be proud of, is not that we've built a big company, but it's that we have completely exposed ourselves and for the first time completely confidently said, I'm doing the absolute best I can do. I'm trying the hardest I can try. If this fucks up, that sucks, and I feel really badly for the 200 people who have hitched their cart to this horse, and I feel badly for myself a little bit, but we've done everything that we can do. And you know, the last presentation talked about sort of the economy taking some weird twists and turns, and like these things can happen, and obviously we try to build a business that's recession-proof, but the thing that I can sort of go to bed knowing is I'm doing everything I can do to be successful and to build a great company, and that is really the source of all my sort of confidence right now. And so I think that's a good segue into my hobby, which is Lerer Ventures. Anyone here a Lerer Ventures funded company? Oh my God, we suck. Okay, I'm giving away $10 million to the first person up here. No, we don't, no, oh, no. Our fund is very small. You would put us immediately out of business. So LV is something I started about 2.5 years ago with my dad. And the idea was to go and invest in our peers. And so through building a company in New York, as everyone knows, it's a really interesting time in New York right now. We come across a lot of interesting businesses and a lot of interesting people. And we created LV to invest in these people. And I think the reason that we've been successful, and we've made 106 investments, I can't remember if I said that, but I think the reason we're getting great deal flow and we're getting to invest in the best entrepreneurs is because we understand the idea that there's no shame in failing, but there's only not shame in trying. And we really approach entrepreneurs as people and understand sort of what they're putting on the line. And of course we want to make money, but we're early stage investors. We're not investing in products per se. We're not investing in areas of the market. We're investing in people, and we understand how brave you have to be to start a company and how scary it is and how insane it is. How many people here are entrepreneurs themselves? You guys are pimps. It's really scary, and pimpettes. I don't know if that's a word. So sort of one last thought that I'll leave you guys with. That's my dad. He doesn't look very happy there, but he was happy there. So when I started Thrillist, he started a company at the same time, and we built our company sort of along a similar trajectory. His was faster for a while, and about 1.5 years ago, he sold his company. It was really exciting. We were incredibly sort of proud of him and happy, and it was a big exit and like a big win, and everyone was stoked. And we went away to celebrate. And when we did, I remember this. It was a weird epiphany. I was in the shower. And I actually hadn't been working out a lot at the time, so I apologize. It's the only picture I had. And I sort of realized that I had been doing things, like living a little bit the wrong way. And forever, I had been obsessed with this light at the end of the tunnel. And when I went to work for Andre, I was thinking about not enjoying the experience of learning on the job, but only thinking about how to get to the next level. And for a long time at Thrillist, building Thrillist to be daily candy for guys so that we could go and get someone to give us a whole bunch of money so that we could like crash planes into boats or something awesome like that. And I really don't think it's the right way to go to work every day. And everyone thinks about this light at the end of the tunnel, and really it's only about the tunnel. Like if you don't love what you do, and if you don't love going to work, and if you're not proud of the work you're doing every day, get the hell out of there. Do something different. Like the idea that I could be working towards some day when suddenly I could have enough money that I could then do whatever I want is crazy, because I do whatever I want right now. I'm happy going to work. I don't need an alarm in the morning because I'm so stoked about the people that I work with and the products that we're building. And I feel so lucky. And to think about things in the context of some date in the future, life's too short. And there's the hokey sort of John Lennon quote, but it really is true. You just need to live in the moment and enjoy it. And I sound like my great-grandfather probably telling a group of people this, but I'm living it firsthand, and it's really helped me enjoy work and feel really proud of the work on a daily basis. So that said, I hope this was cool. Thanks, guys.